In this video today, we are talking about seed oils and how seed oils drive cholesterol concerns in your body. So if you're wanting to learn more about seed oils, how they're inflammatory, how they wreak havoc on your body, and how that changes your cholesterol overall, this is the video for you. So when we're talking about seed oils, this is something that has been a growing topic for people over, I'd say, the last 4 to 5 years. You start hearing the word seed oil more often. It's something that people are consistently exploring. It's something that they're consistently looking into on how it affects our body, mainly because, we've historically been told that all of these seed oils are better for our health, that we need to have canola oil. And you see right on the bottle, it says American Heart Association approved. And you've heard that saturated fats are bad and that we want unsaturated fats, and that's the good type of fat that we want to consume. And the type of seed oils we're really talking about are canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, palm oil. All these are seed oils derived from seeds. So, I mean, if you look at canola oil, it's actually from a rapeseed that you can't really eat on its own. It's something that has to be processed and has to be mechanically changed so that you can actually consume it for the body. So overall, when you just start looking at seed oils and how they're produced, it leaves to question whether they're even good for our body. If you compare that to a non-seed oil, olive oil, or coconut oil, these are more natural forms that we can actually find in our world without having to do massive refining. And when I mean by refining, we're talking about something like canola oil, where you have to add benzene or hexene. You have to bleach them just to get the smell out of it, as well as to make it so it's not poisonous for our body. So the key for us is to really evaluate these seed oils and determine, are they serving us or not? So that's number one. Number two is, how does this relate to cholesterol? Because seed oils are really tied to cholesterol. And when you hear of cholesterol, you're constantly hearing that cholesterol is bad. High cholesterol is bad, low cholesterol is good. Or you'll hear an HDL is a good cholesterol and LDL is a bad. So looking at cholesterol overall, you really have to start looking at what cholesterol is, what's its role in the body, and how do seed oils play a factor. So before I get into cholesterol, please note the effect that seed oils have on your body. Seed oils are harmful, and seed oils are closely tied to your cholesterol levels. And this has been greatly misunderstood. Cholesterol has received a bad reputation over the years with the belief that high cholesterol levels are inherently bad and they should be minimized, mainly because they cause plaque formation to the arteries, and that plaque formation will build up, and that's where you get ischemic episodes where the blood can't flow through the vessels the way that it needs to. But Gary Brecka does an excellent job explaining the cholesterol firefighter analogy, which is, every time there's a fire and you're interested to see, well, geez, where's that fire? Where's it come from? You see the smoke and you go and you look and there's a house on fire, and every time you see firefighters there with their hoses ready to put the fire out. Well, would you ever say that firefighters cause fires? Because every time there's a fire, firefighters are there. You wouldn't. That'd be ridiculous. And that's much the same that's happening with cholesterol. There is a fire, and cholesterol's there. So are they acting more like a firefighter, where they're helping to put out the fire, or are they causing the fire? We'll get to that in just a second. So first we got to look at cholesterol and what the true role of cholesterol is. Is it the cause or is it the response? So does cholesterol cause plaque buildup? Or is there a response that's occurring to the damage to that endothelial lining of the arterial wall? So if you look at the artery itself, the inner lining is endothelium. It's a collection of cells, very thin, that lines the inner part of your artery. And that is where plaque formation is found. You see formation in these endothelial walls, and they build over time. So the theory has been that cholesterol is present. It's there, sometimes in these endothelial walls. It's creating a formation of plaque buildup, and eventually gets built enough and it can clog your arteries to where you have an ischemic event or lack of blood flow, which then you're not getting enough oxygen, starts killing tissues, stroke, heart attack, other. So is cholesterol there to heal, or is it being unfairly blamed for the problem overall? So cholesterol might actually be trying to repair the damage rather than cause it. So let's look at the research that's currently present with seed oils. If you're looking at randomized controlled trials, many of them show that individuals that consume seed oils instead of butter or olive oil, that there's clear increases in oxidation to the LDL particles, which is cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein, cholesterol. So this perspective, you can listen to Paul Salandino. He speaks about it a lot. He's very knowledgeable about it. That talks about the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. So think of LDL cholesterol as a balloon, and this is one of Paul's analogies. Think of it as a balloon or a bus that transports triglycerides and other substances throughout the body. I mean, cholesterol is really necessary for making a lot of your hormones, vitamin D, testosterone, estrogen. It's vital for that. But the problem arises when LDL cholesterol, which has a protein, lipid, cholesterol membrane around it, it becomes oxidized. So there's the word oxidized. What does that mean? So oxidized really means a loss of electrons. And this is similar to how rust forms on metal. When you start getting a loss of electrons and it's being taken and given to something else, it changes the chemical formation of that entity, which means it's now susceptible to damage or destruction. So when LDL particles become oxidized, it creates a cascade of free radical formation that's really triggered from this. And this particularly affects the lipids in the LDL particles. So I talked about the protein, the lipids, and cholesterol all in this carrier. And that's what the LDL really is. It's just a carrier. And this process, anytime that a lipid is oxidized, is called lipid peroxidation. So this occurs when the membranes of those cells or the LDL particles get oxidized. So once they're oxidized, these particles are really recognized as foreign invaders. So the body starts seeing them as invaders, which means it then creates an inflammatory response from your immune system that says, we need to send these macrophages in and clean up these particles. They shouldn't be there. Let's get rid of them. So this process leads to the formation of arteriosclerotic plaques, or also known as fatty streaks, these plaque deposits in the arteries. This is really occurring because of your immune response, this inflammatory response, to those particles that are being seen as invaders now. So when the macrophages come in and ingest that oxidized LDL particle, the risk of arteriosclerosis So that hardening of the arteries increases. So in simple terms, oxidized LDL equals a greater likelihood of getting plaque in your arteries. So the primary cause of LDL oxidation, anybody want to take a guess? Seed oil consumption. It's prevalent in everything. Look at every package that has any type of oil in it, packaged food, shelf, deep fryers, everything is using seed oils because they're cheap. They've been sold as healthy. So we're getting massive, massive, massive inflammatory effects in your body. We're seeing more people die of arterial disease. More people die from heart and vascular issues in the United States than cancer. About 4 to 5 times greater incidence of people dying from heart arterial disease than cancer. Yet cancer is seen as the boogeyman. Cancer is the one that nobody wants to get. But there's a greater chance that if you're watching this, that you're going to die from a heart or vascular issue that what I'm talking about today than you are cancer. So the good news is that you can really influence this LDL consumption. And you can do it by adjusting your diet. So whether or not you consume seed oils plays a significant role in this process. So remember, cholesterol is merely a transporter that carries essential substrates throughout the body. And it's hypothesized that oxidized LDL is more likely to get stuck in that endothelial wall. And that's what leads up to that plaque buildup. See, those LDL particles carry different substrates and they help provide nutrients, they help provide mediators that go to all the cells of the body. So they're small. And by being small, they can even get through the endothelial walls. So the theory is that they're getting in and out and they're doing their thing. They're bringing substrates, they're bringing chemical mediators, they're bringing cholesterol to be used for hormones. And they're transporting it in and out like they always have. But when a LDL particle gets oxidized, now it's harder to get through those endothelial spaces, and what happens is they get stuck. And this leads to plaque buildup. So plaque buildup or arterial sclerosis really begins with the damage to that endothelial lining. So picture that the walls of your artery are becoming damaged. And from that, just like a wound on your body, the cut, we start bringing things in our own body to the area to heal that tissue. So one of the items that comes there to heal tissue is cholesterol. So any type of arteriosclerosis that occurs to your endothelium of the vessel wall of the arteries could start creating plaque formation. Think of it as scar formation. So as humans, we will inevitably sustain some level of endothelial damage simply as a byproduct of the heart constantly pumping. And it's pumping blood at very high pressures constantly. So you're going to sustain some level of endothelial damage just by living life, by having a beating heart. The key question is, though, can we repair the damage? So healthy individuals can repair that endothelial damage, and they can do it effectively. But for individuals that contain any type of health depression, such as insulin resistance, diabetes, healing can be more challenging. So think of an individual that already is diabetic, and what happens to their feet? They get a cut on their foot, they don't get an accurate blood flow to the area. It's harder, since they're a diabetic, to actually heal that structure. Well, think about this occurring in your vessels. The more insulin resistant you are, the greater chance you have for arterial sclerosis. There's a strong association between those two. Well, maybe it could be that the diabetes or the insulin resistance is not allowing you to heal the tissues the way it needs to, and it continues to develop more of a plaque formation. It's continuing to grow. Whereas a healthy individual with no insulin resistance, or they're highly insulin sensitive, will heal that damage to the endothelial wall. So what can you do? So top tips right now. What can you do to prevent arteriosclerosis, to make sure that your cholesterol is in check, that your cholesterol is serving you, not harming you, and you can continue to progress in your life without a detriment to your top risk factor for death, heart disease. So how do you prevent arteriosclerosis, or how do you improve your own health metrics long-term for longevity? And it's not about lowering cholesterol, because cholesterol is merely present at the site of the problem. It's the firefighter. It's not the cause. So instead of focusing on strategies to lower cholesterol, we need to focus on strategies that help us avoid becoming insulin resistant. We need to avoid becoming diabetic. We need to maintain healthy blood sugar levels. Number two, we need to just minimize or eliminate the consumption of seed oils. We need to choose healthier fats like butter, tallow, olive oil, coconut oil, ghee. All of these do not create that inflammatory effect. We need to continue to protect that endothelial wall by not smoking. Smoking has a direct correlation to damage to the endothelial wall, which means that smokers tend to have more sclerotic arteries. And then four, we need to manage stress, because psychological stress or physiological, meaning inflammation in the body, can increase your blood pressure. And anything that leads to increase in blood pressure long-term creates more endothelial damage. So overall, here are my final thoughts. And I'm going to paraphrase another a great analogy from Gary Brecka. Think of cholesterol like wood. Wood is a valuable resource, and it can be used to build structures or fuel fires. And it can serve a host of functions. So it is valuable for you to have a full woodshed of wood sitting there during the winter so that you can use it for heating your house. But if you're working outside with a chainsaw or a saw or anything, and a spark goes and lands in your woodshed, and the whole woodshed catches on fire and burns your house down, we can also say that wood is bad because it burns things. And wood we should eliminate because it can burn your house down. Well, if we're looking at cholesterol in the same light, it can be used for great in your body. Transporter, moves everything around, floats in your blood, brings substrates to the necessary tissues. But in the wrong situation, it can also be a detriment. So much like wood, we're not going to eliminate wood because there's a potential for burning your house down. We're going to use wood so that it serves us. So the key for us is we have to understand the impact that seed oils are having on your life, particularly cholesterol levels. And we have to protect our endothelial lining so that the greatest risk factor that you have for death, heart disease, can be minimized. Because that is one of the greatest reasons why your longevity will be minimized. And if there's any focus for you that wants to live to be 100, and when I say that, people kind of, I don't want to live to be 100. And I say, why? And they say, well, because I don't want to be decrepit and old, my mind gone, blah, blah. But what if you could be just like you are right now, have your mobility, strength, function, mind's good, you can move around, you could be social, you could live the life that you want, and be 100. That be bad? Well, that's our goal. So that's our goal with these podcasts, with these type of talks, is to bring real life information to you so that you can create longevity in your life and increase your health span. Not your lifespan. We want to create how much health you can create as long as possible. So again, I hope you got a ton of value from this, and it brings a framework on what cholesterol does for your life, as well as the damage that endothelial lining that it does to heart disease, but also understanding how seed oils will truly affect your long-term health. So if you got any value out of this, please, please, please go ahead and let me know. And the best way you can let me know is you can send this to a friend. So send it to a friend, let them know that, hey, cholesterol isn't the boogeyman. This is actually something that can serve you, and we need to take care of these other factors over here. So if you got any value, please send it to a friend and keep the good vibes going. See you next time.